So I'm going to go into now season's traditions. Anything you want to say about your first of your many Christmas CDs, Christmas collections? Anything you want to?
Um, I knew that after Numinous, I wanted to do something that would be a little bit more familiar for people. Not everybody likes ambient music, and everybody loves Christmas music, that celebrates Christmas. So I was playing Christmas songs when I was 5, so I would do Christmas concerts in our living room, but I would make everybody leave the room so I wouldn't get, I didn't feel stared at. So yes, I've been playing Christmas music a long time, and it seemed like if I'm going to do cover songs, why not do cover songs that, are, everyone loves to hear at Christmas. So
Mhm.
that's how Seasons Traditions happened.
Well, I'm going to play some of your Silent Night from that collection. You have many versions of Silent Night throughout the years, but this one really captures for me the George Skaroulis feel. So just give a listen for a second here. Wow. That's that's incredible, George. That really
Thank
is
you.
incredible. Wow. What do you have to say for yourself? Where do you come off? I mean, it's the way you let the notes breathe. I mean, have you always had an instinct? I mean, explain that. I mean, that's got to be in you.
I I don't know exactly. It's always been kind of therapeutic for me to sit down and play. So sometimes it slows me down, if I
Mhm.
get it's just I don't know, that's just the way I've found myself playing.
But you're not trained. That's what's so amazing. And most people really rush through songs, or at least, or when there is something to criticize, that's really what it is. Or, or it's almost so sterile. It's just so, but you give so much texture in the way you play, and you do it all the time. I mean, it's amazing. And that's to me the microcosm of the macrocosm of George Skaroulis right there, that piece. So
Thank you.
yeah.
I guess I just like to give the notes a little breathing space. So
Hmm.
that's just it is what it is.
Well, God bless that it is. Thank God it is. So let's move on over to generations now. So now I think we finally hit 2000, which we did. So we got a new millennium here. And I've noticed that opening track, Hopes and Dreams, has seen a lot of light of day. It made it to other collections. I'm assuming that's yours, that you wrote that. Am I
It
correct?
is.
That is.
Hmm.
Do you remember anything about that?
Well, I know that this CD was inspired by family photographs that were taken by my grandfather. So there's the generations concept, and I was at the time I wanted to create not only an album that kind of reflected my family heritage, but I also wanted to share all of these photographs that my grandfather had taken in his younger years before he immigrated to the United States. So his life, on the tiny island of Patmos in Greece, and then coming to the United States and documenting so many of his successes and his family. And, he always had a tripod. So he was always getting a family picture, which is now what I love to do.
Hmm.
Um, I kind of inherited that trait from him. So in addition to the music, I wanted to put together a photography exhibit. And thanks to Matt McClendon, he designed the whole CD concept, the cover. We created together a beautiful exhibit that we took to the island of Patmos back in 2001, I believe. And that was probably the biggest life changing event, to go to this island, bring these photographs that were nearly 80 years old, put up a complete exhibit that was open to the public for free. I did a concert one night and I was honored by one of the bishops on the island. And it was a great tribute, to be able to introduce my music to my kind of generations later, to my grandfather's distant relatives that are on the island, but also a lot of the people that were in the exhibit to see the show, these photographs, were recognizing people in photographs they'd never seen before. So it was kind of like, oh my God, that's me when I was a little girl, and here's this woman that's 80 years
Wow.
old. So it was that kind of these were like a hidden gem of photographs that no one had ever seen. So it was so rewarding and such a unforgettable experience for me.
What I love is that you shared them in this booklet that's in the CD. Am I correct? I mean,
Correct.
that had to
Several of them.
be that had to be a pretty penny to include them. I mean, and now in this day and age when we really can't get a hold of these CDs, can you maybe share these pictures online for fans, or to get the whole experience, because it does add an element when you see the history. You did a great job, George.
Thank you. Matt McClendon did a great job. He is the graphic designer and the mastermind behind, pairing all these wonderful, classic phrases and quotes from people like Pluto and Socrates, and
Mhm.
creating the magic of all of that together. And the other fun part about that was, I interviewed some of my elders in the family who were
Mm.
the historians. And so we identified a lot of the people. I didn't know who they were. So I sat down with my aunt, my uncle, and my mom, and, we identified people and documented who they were. So, you know, on the back of these photographs, the history is there, because
Mm.
you have a stack of photos, and if the elders pass, a lot of times the family history is like it's kind of forgotten. So that was a great experiment for me, and I'm really proud of the outcome.
Oh my God, you should. So I'm going to play a little bit of Hopes and Dreams, and then I'm going to surprise you with what I'm going to play after that. So just sit back and enjoy this.
Okay. Wow, it sounds good. I'm so surprised. Shenandoah, I just remember that song from when I was a kid and just always was very moved by it. And it's such a classic. I don't know, I just felt like for generations, I wanted the music to have elements of Greece and also kind of just songs of America, and Shenandoah is such a classic American song. So, and ironically, it's one of the top sellers. It's like surprising that I guess a lot of people my age know the song. It depends on your generation, of course, but I just always loved it. So I'm glad you like it.
Oh, love it. Love it. Did you want to comment on hopes and dreams? You don't have to, but is there anything you'd like to say or something you remember?
Hopes and Dreams, I think, was the first track on Generations, right?
Whew.
Hopes and Dreams was kind of inspired by the whole Ellis Island experience and what it would be like, like my grandfather to come on a boat to the United States from Greece and a long journey and just all that excitement, anticipation, and the hopes and dreams that they would have had to come to the United States and the courage. So that was kind of the opening song because it was his journey from Greece to United States, and it was just kind of like all of that excitement and
Mhm.
um, enthusiasm, I guess, for a new life.
Well, I appreciate that because I'm named after Michael Scimeca, my grandfather, and he came to Ellis Island as a teenager, and my grandmother. And so we share that. And so it's nice to hear that came. I didn't know that Hopes and Dreams was about Ellis Island. So thank you for sharing that. Like I needed a greater connection to it, right?
Yes.
So I don't want to put a lot of pressure on you, but don't feel like you have to say anything. I mean, the music really does speak enough. And, this is just a walk, down memory lane for you. And it's
Right.
almost like good art. If you have something to say, go ahead and share it. But if you don't feel pressured that you have to say anything.
Well, I will tell you this. Agape, of course, means love, and aletheia means truth. So um, those songs were, I thought, pretty easy to pair together.
Right.
Short and sweet and simple.
Hmm. Well, do you enjoy listening to them? Just curious. Does it bring you any kind of feeling one way or the other? Because I know that you can cringe on some of your older recordings. I've seen you,
I
and
can, yes.
I've watched you, and I was like, please don't ruin it for me. So, how is it for you when you hear Generations and all these tracks?
Um, they do take me back to that time, to that good experience. For me, the it seems a little more premature. Like the recording seems, I'm very critical about what it sounds like compared to what it sounds like now. So those are the earlier years, and so it sounds like the earlier years, but it's a nice collection, and so
Yeah, very nice collection. So I want to move on because I'm only going to do one from Return to Homeland, but I'm so glad you did do this to give these songs the light of day, the ones that did go away with Homeland, and you chose a couple of them. But I'm going to actually pick a little song here, a little short one that I think you did not do, I believe, on Homeland. Rosemary. What do you remember about that, if anything? Because if nothing, let me play a little bit for you, okay?
okay.
So, what do you remember of that piece?
All right. Well, rosemary comes from my love of the smell of rosemary, and rosemary is everywhere in Greece. And I had no idea that you were going to mention this song, but I want you to know right before we got started today, I went out to the garden and
Oh
cut some fresh rosemary.
my God.
And I did that right before we started just to kind of clear my head. And, rosemary's wonderful for remembering, for memory, so that's how connected we are.
Hmm.
Fresh rosemary.
Like we need another excuse to celebrate our connection, right?
Oh my goodness.
My goodness. That's wonderful. Is there anything you'd like to mention about Return to Homeland? Because honestly, this is one of those that I did burn out of my office. I mean, played it in its entirety, start track one, just put it on repeat. And it's one of those that just holds up. And boy, you really captured some history in this bad boy.
Thank you. Well, I was really excited when one of the songs from Return to Homeland was The Dance. And that short little piece was picked up by PBS years ago, and they did a wonderful aerial, you know, it was a DVD basically, and it premiered on PBS, and it was all this wonderful footage of Greece from the air. So
Mm.
the song "The Dance" was, introduced to a lot of people through PBS. And it's right at there's a sailboat scene when, this sailboat's pulling into the island of Santorini. So I was honored to be included with Santorini because it's such a beautiful place. And so that led to other things with PBS, just music being included. And it was a really nice surprise and opportunity. It really introduced me to a lot of listeners, new listeners, basically.
I think that this whole interview is going to really introduce you to a whole bunch of new listeners too. I hope that we could get this out there and that people will be able to really want to explore your catalog, through this. I mean, that is my intention, George, of doing this, just so you know, is that people find your music because it will benefit them, and that's the reality because it touches so deeply, and a beautiful part of life, like music does what words really rarely do unless you're an amazing poet or an incredible storyteller. Music is one of the greatest art forms for touching deeply, and you do that very well.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So let's go to I just want to do Adagio one time because do you want to talk about the collaboration with Chris Spears? And honestly, I was even going to mention this to you when I see you one on one about Love and Understanding, the first track. And I thought that this could be something that could be used for one of the collection CDs moving forward that has a theme. I thought this was really nice. And I'm guessing obviously that Chris wrote it. I'm
He
guessing
did.
it's his, but would you like to speak upon that, any of that?
Sure, sure. I was listening to Chris Spears' music for quite a long time and loved his style, loved the way he composed, and I wanted to include one of his songs on, I believe it was Return to Homeland. Okay. And so I called the office on the back of his album at the time and reached out to somebody, and this lady named Eleni answered the phone, and she was very nice, but she was very, you know, curious. Who are you? Where are you from? She wanted to know who I was, and I told her I had interest in recording one of Chris's songs. And
Can I say something?
yes,
You have a song that's Ilani. Did you name it after her? And number two, this is going to end up being Chris's mom, isn't it?
yes. How did you know that?
I
You just
just I wanted to have a chance to go there. I don't think it's written on the CD. So go ahead. I'm sorry. I just
you are
wanted
correct.
I wanted some bragging rights. I knew that she was being very protective. I felt the prickliness of Mama Bear looking out for her little cub
Absolutely.
as soon as you
She
started
was
talking.
doing she was doing her job. And yes, I had a great chat with her, and I think I sent my music to Chris after that, and then we connected. But I was so nervous talking to her on the phone because I'd never really reached out to another artist. And I had no idea it was his mom until later. So I sat down and just started recording, and I titled the song after her.
Oh, I love it.
So
As soon as you said Alani, I just like it just went click, click, click. So yeah, that's a great story.
story. And then,
I'm
I encouraged Chris, I'm like, can I please, record more of your songs? And so that's how Adagio was born.
Now, did he play on any tracks at all, or it was just
Nope, he
you?
just let me kind of do my own interpretations of his music.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. So, are you familiar with the first track, Love and Understanding?
It's been a while.
that was Eleni. And I know that you're aware that there are people that play your music online on YouTube. There's somebody that plays Eleni, a song that you wrote. What does that feel like when someone just is inspired to cover one of your songs and to just capture your melody and play it for themselves?
It's kind of crazy. It's so fascinating that people have taken the time to figure it out. And like, this is Alex Singh, and I've communicated with him before, but he has videos of himself playing this music and he creates the sheet music. Like, I don't even have the music for sheet. I don't think I have sheet music for Eleni. So here he is playing, and it's just like, wow, he really nails it too.
Sounds like you, really,
It
actually.
does.
It's kind of scary.
Right.
Yeah, but that's good. Well, it is interesting to see how many people take your music and, really run with it. I mean, like, let's just jump around here. I'm going to go out of chronological order. I'm proud of myself for keeping it in chronological order, but Sting's version of Fragile. I mean, are you blown away at how far reaching that song has gotten? And it's well deserved, but I mean, do a search on George Skaroulis, right, on YouTube. And then when it says, how would you like to view this? And you can choose by, do you want the most views, the oldest, the newest? If you do most views, it's like the first 4 or 5 are these amazing videos that people have done to Fragile. And it doesn't sound at all like Sting's version. You really owned it. You gave it such a texture. Could you talk about that? Because I'm going to read some of these quotes, the ones that I can read. Would you please just talk about that, the Fragile recording at all?
I've loved that song for the longest time. I've heard Brazilian versions when Sting is singing in Brazilian, or is it Portuguese? Just fell in love with it, and I think the the time that I heard it paired with an IMAX film called, I think it was called Living Seas. Gorgeous, gorgeous IMAX film, and Fragile was one of the songs that was probably opened up the film, and it was just so moving and so appropriate, and I just fell in love with it. And I loved kind of the Spanish style, or the kind of, the guitar was just amazing, and so we had to include a guitarist on the project. So I don't recall the gentleman's name at the time. I'm sorry, but it's been a long time ago. But I do love that recording, and my producer Trammell Starks did an incredible job, kind of helping me orchestrate that. So it was fun to do.
Well, I have got to read some of these. By the way, if you go on YouTube and you put in George Skaroulis and then click filters, and if you click filters, one of your options is to have them sort by view count, and you will find that Fragile is up there, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so many people have put videos, made their own videos like to this, and they were inspired and they captured the essence. And these are not official George Skaroulis videos. These are fans that found their way to this song and then had to interpret them. So I'm just going to read a few of these. Now, honestly, most of these comments are not in English. Again, it's absolutely fascinating, like Marviloso. I mean, I think I know what that one means, but I'm going way down to the first one in English. Love all of your music. Many thanks for this subtle and beautiful selection. And then again, this is a different quote, but it sounds very similar. Listen to this quote from 2 years ago. This is the most beautiful music I have ever heard in my life. And then how I love this song performed by my beloved Julio Iglesias. Tears appear on their own. And I'm just going on. Pure feelings on any note. It's dreamy and oh so gorgeous, so beautiful. And I'm skipping the ones that I cannot read because they're not in English. I can't even tell you what the language is, and they're multiple languages. So the music is melting the feeling. I mean, and this one video on this one is got over 400,000 views, George, and somebody took it upon themselves to make this video, and you'll see there are 3 or 4 people that have made this video and got mega hits on them. Like, so something magical is happening here in spite of you. And unless you go to YouTube, you would even be unaware of it, which is so fascinating. So, what would you like to say about that? Because this is one of the things where I'm so in awe. This is where you are recognized as one of the world's greatest. This is where I think you do get the recognition. So, what would
Thank
you
you.
like? What would you like to say about any of that?
I love YouTube because you can find anything, you can learn about anything on YouTube, and I love like tuning into some of my favorite musicians. I mean, lately I've been in a Celine Dion mood, so I've been watching her perform live, and she's just such an incredible vocalist, and I had the opportunity to see her, and so it's wonderful to have such an open library of wonderful. You can choose your favorite song. I do it all the time. Like, what am I in the mood to hear? And just to see the visuals of the artist performing or singing, it's incredible. it's hard to keep up with. I really, I mean, you're the one that's really kind of said, you really don't know how many people have watched these videos, and because I don't look at it, but I know it's there, and it's like, what is that possible?
It would
It's
be fun for us to really just cut and paste all these quotes and translate them and find out what these people are saying. And I wish there was a way to know, where they're from, but at least in the translation, we can know at least what the originating language is. And I don't know. I just think it's so accurate and deserved that you are somehow finding your way around the world.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it really is. So let's see.